Now, you do see the sideboards on the screen, and we're going to take a look at those here. Now, again, we've got Esper Deathblade versus Blade Miracles. So your control deck's on your left, your aggro deck, for lack of a better term, is on your right. It's super mid-rangey, but it can play a more aggressive role. We're going to start with Biggers on the left. He's got the Helm and the board, along with a Needle, 3 Rest in Peace, 2 Disenchanted, Divert, and Enlighten Tutor, 3 Flusterstorms, 2 Misdirections, and a Supreme Verdict. What do you like, Patrick?
Well, Kevin's threats are pretty challenging to kill and are all very threatening. So I like bringing an additional copy of Supreme Verdict, especially since Kevin is armed with a little permission to protect his threats as well. I like bringing in the copy of Pithy Needle, as Kevin Jones has a lot of equipment, and Liliana of the Veil, which is a pretty challenging card for Blue-White Miracles to play against in the long term. I'm not sure if he's really going to want to go with the Flusterstorm type of stuff. I don't know if he's really that interested in fighting over Kevin's spells, but I think he is very interested in fighting over Kevin's creatures and planeswalkers.
On the other side, you see 2 Meddling Mage, a Notion Thief, 2 Abrupt Decay, a Disenchanted, Disfigure, a Flusterstorm, a Force of Will, 2 Surgical Extractions, a Swan Song, 2 Zealous Persecutions, and a Vendilion Click. A lot of options here for Kevin Jones. Do you like anything there?
I really like the Vendilion Click, and I really like the 2 copies of Abrupt Decay, as I can help against Counterbalance. I think he may want the Notion Thief as well, little misers, maybe tag a Brainstorm.
I like it.
And 2 copies of Meddling Mage. He's the aggressor in the matchup. You know, Dustin's not really playing a combo deck necessarily, but he has a lot of really impactful cards, Supreme Verdict, Terminus, Entreat the Angels, that are going to be very threatening for Kevin at various points. And also, I think he's just in the market for more attackers. He has to be the aggressor in the matchup, as Dustin's late game is much more powerful.
For those of you guys wondering at home how Majors and Braverman are going, well, Michael Majors does it again. Blue-White Red Delver is moving on to play against Dylan Donegan in our semifinals. For Michael Braverman, it's obviously been a very good weekend. He makes the top 8 here. He makes the top 16 in the Invitational. However, there will be no Brothers Finals.
Unfortunate. I did see him attempt to resolve a Golgari Charm in the face of multiple True Name Nemesis from Michael Majors, and Majors had a Spell Pierce that was able to successfully counter it. Oofa.
Spell Pierce. Ugh.
Oofa.
That's a tough way to go.
Oh, yeah.
So again, Michael Majors versus Dylan Donegan. You'll have Bug Delver versus Blue Red Delver on one side, and then whoever wins this match gets the absolute pleasure of playing against Philip Braverman, who is playing Miracles. So brace yourself. We could have another Miracles mirror.
And Philip really navigated that match against Andres Prost in an impressive fashion. I mean, Andres Prost is the most accomplished of any of our top 8 performers on a professional level, 2 PT top 8s, and Philip with some incredibly tight play to pull that one out.
All right, Dustin Biggers, she's taking a look at hand and a couple Forcibles. Terminus, ooh, that hand's look yuck. I see a couple of lands. I see a Counterbalance that's naked, and then a Terminus and 2 Forcibles. Can he keep this one? And he is. I'm a little surprised.
I think that's a hard hand to mulligan. I mean, he's got enough tools to play with. It's not great. Not a great opening hand, but it's a pretty aggressive mulligan, I think, if he lays that one down.
All right. Jones going to take a look at his. Again, Kevin Jones, a name you may be familiar with if you follow our Open Series leaderboard. He was on the top 16 of it all season long.
I would like to get a peek at his hand, because he is really deliberating this one as well.
He's got a Vindicate, he's got a Surgical, a Brainstorm, a couple other cards, but he's going to send it back. He is obviously not happy with the configuration, and he went old rabbit holing. I think maybe he needed a land.
Yeah, I think he just had a scrub land as his one land. And a hand like that, you know, if you have a blue source and a cantrip, one landers are reasonable to keep, especially against a deck like Blue-White Miracles, where you have no fear of being wastelanded out of the game, but a scrub land is just unkeepable.
You can't rabbit hole. Don't look. Don't look.
Some people like to look. I never look, but some people do.
It depends on my mood. Which is just a ridiculous thing to say, I know.
Yeah, that's actually the most absurd answer of all. That's more ridiculous than either looking all the time or never looking.
Sometimes I want
My
to know.
mood affects whether or not I check it out. I'm feeling particularly unlucky right now. I want to see how unlucky I've been getting.
My mood also affects my mulligans. What of it? Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just want to get there.
My fatigue affects my mulligans, I think, more than my mood.
Fair enough. You got to get that next cup of coffee in you.
Yeah, sometimes I'm like, you know, if I win, that's cool, and if I lose, that's cool too, and I certainly don't want to wait to figure that out, so I will keep this one lander on the play. That happens to me a fair bit.
Kevin Jones working his way down to 5 cards right now, so some untimely mulligans here for the Esper Deathblade player.
And Dustin, after having to sweat through, you know, that speculative opening 7, now feeling a little more comfortable.
Have you had that 5th cup of coffee yet today? I was there for number 4.
No, I have not.
Okay. Maybe after we're done.
Yeah, how else am I supposed to keep this level of enthusiasm so high?
Fire,
You know what I mean?
Fire up the old pot. It'll be around 12 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Hey, it's not. I've seen it before.
Yeah. It's brain energy, man.
It's something, that's for sure. How you take it straight black, I will never know.
Well, I realized it was where I was getting a lot of the sugar in my diet from, and I drank it with sugar my entire life. But after about a week of drinking it black, it was fine. Just had to adapt. Like most things, it's just a matter of adaptation.
An island from Biggers, he'll pass the turn back to Kevin Jones. You see a wasteland here. He'll pass, and if that's his first land, I think he's got another wasteland. Ugh, his hand's not so good on this mulligan.
Yeah, but it does have Deathrite Shaman, which is a pretty high upside card to have in a 5-card hand.
So there's counterbalance from Biggers. I'm going to pass the turn to him back. You see he picked up a Snapcaster Mage here. There's another copy of Wasteland. He'll pass it back. Biggers with 2 basics, of course, and his Miracles deck is basic heavy. There's a Brainstorm for him, and there's a Flooded Strand as well. So he's doing quite well here.
Settle in.
Yeah, we're not going anywhere for a little while. Looks like a Tropical Island comes rolling off the top here.
That's a fine place to start, but I think that with this Brainstorm and all the manipulation that Dustin has available to him, it's going to be a challenge for Kevin to get anything of substance to resolve, at least for a while.
Or who are we kidding? This counterbalance is just going to reveal a 1.
Well, that's pretty greedy when you have a Brainstorm in hand to set it up.
I guess you can make sure it reveals a 1. 3 cards coming. See Counterspell among them. Looks like 2 lands and a Counterspell. Question is, what does he want to put back here? Again, you see the multiple copies of Force of Will. He's got a couple of lands. He's got a Counterspell in his hand. He also has he had a Terminus, and there is Terminus again.
Looks like he had no 1 to set on top, so he can potentially just shuffle with the Flooded Strand here if he's feeling so inclined, and either, reveal or just straight use Counterspell.
He might also just be fine, like resolving Brainstorm, letting this resolve, and then, casting Terminus.
Another fine path.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's going to do. So he's going to turn over Terminus. That's going to go on the stack, and with that, he's going to obviously sacrifice the Flooded Strand.
Yeah, not a bad place here to, cash in the Terminus for 1 card, keep the Counterspell in your hand, which is a much more high-value card against opponent who's mulligan to 5.
Yeah. It looks like he's probably, he's going to go searching for a basic plane, assuming he has one or a couple in his deck. He's digging, there it is. He has finally found one, has Mr. Biggers. So away goes Deathrite Shaman to the bottom of the deck. And Jones's hand still needs a lot of work, of course. He's in the unenviable position of needing to draw lands and relevant spells right now.
And also, the colored mana situation is a bit of a jumble now as the Deathrite Shaman's gone, as you look at a hand of Liliana of the Veil and True Name Nemesis alongside his Tropical Island.
A sheer delight.
And a Vindicate.
Yeah.
A mana-based Gerard Fabiano would be proud of.
That's Grand Prix champion, Gerard Fabiano.
2-time Grand Prix champion.
Yeah, pardon me.
Just saying the man gets pretty aggressive with his legacy mana bases at times.
Spell Pierce to the draw. We'll pass it on back. Biggers will take a draw. It's an Arid Mesa. He's going to put that into play. We very soon may see Snapcaster on a Brainstorm. Don't know if we're going to see it just yet, but probably soon.
I actually think that Dustin may be on the plan right now of, if he finds an Entreat that's great, he can just win the game pretty easily. He could try to just counterspell Kevin's first play and then Snapcaster counterspell. I like being a little proactive here in this spot, while Kevin is stalled on lands, but he has multiple different paths he can take this game here.
And there's your Snapcaster Mage. Kevin picked up a Disenchant for his turn. We're going to see if Snapcaster Mage does resolve. And Jones is going to try pretty hard here to at least act as though he has a Force of Will and he's thinking about something. And now he's going to cast Brainstorm. We know he has a Spell Pierce in his hand. So, you could Spell Pierce to get rid of all these fetch lines to make it like a worse Brainstorm.
I suppose.
Yeah. Just the fact that, he has to sack both of his lands, and then, of course, he won't be able to make it a perfect Brainstorm, presumably. There's a chance of that. He's actually going to fire up a Wasteland here. This is interesting.
Oh, so I think he's going to Wasteland in response to the fetch land. Now he's going to Pierce.
Okay. I kind of like it.
So this is a pretty brutal way to be cashing in resources when you've already mulliganed to 5, but it is better than nothing.
But that doesn't mean that that's going to resolve. Oh, Mr. Biggers, you need to use your counterbalance, my friend. And he did not. Is he going to draw?
Whoa.
Is he going to draw 1 mana?
Ooh, he's... Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
he started
that
on
was
tap.
close.
He started on tap.
That was close. He almost forgot to search up a land.
Yeah.
And you also saw him take a look at the top of his deck, so I think he realizes that he also forgot to activate the counterbalance.
I mean, if Kevin was going to get Stone Rain out of the deal, then I really like the Spell Pierce.
Yeah, no
As it
kidding.
stands, it's simply making the best of a bad situation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not the most enviable position to be in to have to wasteland a fetch land, but as you mentioned, getting the best out of a bad position, as Biggers is going to untap here. He will take a draw step. Let's see what he finds. That's a brainstorm. So see, all of that for what? For what?
Well, the Brainstorm in his hand is very valuable in giving him more manipulation with the counterbalance, which is not something that's true of the Brainstorm he was playing at the end of the turn. So
Jones draws a card. I think it was a copy of Batterskull.
nice.
We're we're a little ways away from that. And here comes a Caracas. In for 2 we go. A juicy wasteland target. And Jones will draw. It's a polluted Delta.
That's a start. Again, his mana base is really strained right now as he has a white-black card, a double blue card, and a double black card. But you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. So, is he going to fire away with this just yet or not? We're going to find out in just a moment.
I think Underground Sea, cast True Name Nemesis is a reasonable place to go here. He can't really Vindicate for very much value. He can't cast the Liliana. Looks like he's just going to wait.
In for 2 we go again with Tiago. Jones going to go down to 14. And Bigger's just going to play patiently, pass the turn back. So, Polluted Delta getting it sacrificed here by Jones. He's going to go a searching, and we'll see what he finds.
Now, I'm a little curious here. If he's casting Vendilion Click, I suppose that's one thing. But I'm a little curious by the decision here to sacrifice at the end of the turn, as because Kevin's colored mana situation is strained in the way that it is, I feel like you would want the information of your draw step, because depending if you draw a particular land, that Polluted Delta can maybe find the last piece of the puzzle and you can really start casting stuff.
Sure. Let's go get a Tundra. Again, the winner of this match we're playing against Philip Braverman, who is Blue, White, Red Miracles.
Okay, so Kevin is making a move here as he's attempting to disenchant the counterbalance.
So the fight will start here. And Biggers is going to cast a Brainstorm. We know he has a counterbalance in his hand, so he can ensure that he can reveal it too.
Yeah, he has Counterspell and another Brainstorm, which is especially brutal for Kevin, as he can leave Counterspell on top. Kevin then may attempt to resolve something large, assuming that the coast may be clear, and then Dustin can simply pick up the Brainstorm and try again.
Swan Song in the house. So big time fight. Wasn't sure if he'd bring that in. It actually kind of makes sense, honestly.
Yeah, it's a little rough in this game as he's already at risk of being beaten to death by the Snapcaster Mage, so this is a fairly high cost, but he's got to pick his battle somewhere. Once he gets Counterbalance off the table, he can play something resembling an honest game. And maybe the cards he has in his hand may provide enough of a defense.
So Bigger's going to cast a Brainstorm again here. All this with the Counterbalance trigger on the stack, and he was actually happy to let that get countered, the first Brainstorm, because give me that Swan. Let's keep these beatdowns going.
Yeah, and you see Entreat on the top of the deck for Dustin alongside numerous copies of Force of Will, so he can really set up something pretty brutal here.
Yeah, got some real closing speed now.
He has the luxury, you know, he can reveal Counterspell this turn and Entreat down the line. He doesn't even have to set up Entreat for next turn.
So Bigger's going to put a couple of cards back here in just a moment. And obviously everything is in his favor right now. You see the Force of Will. Got the Counterspell. Has another copy of Force of Will. Is actually, yeah, he's just going to let that go. Says, I do not need that to win this game.
Yeah, and I like that approach. Again, Kevin's pretty low on resources here. You have a lot of Force of Wills in hand. There's no reason to get in any sort of jockeying match when you don't even have Divining Top. It's not, you know, it's not like you're going to be locking him out of the game necessarily.
I think Jones was probably asking, do you have to rule the Counterbalance? Do you not? And the answer is no, I don't have to.
Yep, totally optional.
We're good. And all of that action, of course, took place on the end of Bigger's turn. So both players just making sure they're okay. Obviously, they've been playing Magic all day. It's a little late. Players starting to get a little bit fatigued as there is True Name Nemesis. Let's see if Biggers cares about that. If he'd like to Force of Will that.
Yeah, I mean, if he's on the plan to just Entreat, he may not even care.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly the plan he's on. He's going to flip it over right now. Give me some Angels, if you don't mind. And with double Force of Will backup, we both know this is resolving. So he's going to sacrifice this Arid Mesa, as it's time to pay the cost for the Entreat. Of course, Entreat is the card that's actually drawn, but then you do reveal Entreat the Angels, and then you pay the cost. And when you do Miracle that, it is white, white, X. So it looks like we're going to see a bunch of 4/4s in just a sec.
Yeah, and, you know, for all the colors in Kevin Jones' deck here, no copies of Pernicious Deed, no copies of Engineered Explosives. If this resolves, he's taking the whole thing.
So Bigger is going to give a hearty shuffle here, and then he's going to decide exactly how many Angels he does want to make. I think it's going to be the full amount. So 4/4/4 flyers are coming in, and that'll be Bigger's turn. He just passes it back. Again, sitting here with 2 Forcibles and 2 blue cards. It's a pretty safe spot.
Yeah. And, you know, pretty 4/4/4 flyers, pretty good insurance against Liliana the Veil or Vindicate. Get the Swan in there for good measure.
Sure.
Just let him know. Let him know you're killing him with his own card.
Yeah. Jones is going to take a draw here. It's a copy of Surgical Extraction.
Nice.
Yeah. A real motley crew of cards in Kevin's hand right now, I must say. And he's going to show them all and extend the hand. Dustin Biggers is going to win this match over Kevin Jones. Blue-White Miracles is moving on to the semifinals to play against Blue-White